Welcome to INV 2601 in 3 minutes or less. Unfortunately, today we are going to do more than 3 minutes, but we are going to talk about the multi-stage growth model. It's a little bit more complicated. So we will start by reviewing what we covered about the valuation of preference shares and the constant growth model. So we said in our last discussion, to find the value of a preference share, because a preference share, remember, it is a dividend which is not growing. So we know that in the future it is going to pay us a constant amount of 150, as an example, 150 every year. So to find the value of a preference share, we say dividend divided by required return. In this case, our required return is 10%. So we say our D is equals to 150 divided by 0.1, which is equals to 15 rands. Okay. So then we talk about the valuation of a constantly growing share. So remember, we said what is constantly growing is the dividend. So if we are valuing a constant growth share, we say future dividend or next dividend divided by required return minus G. In this case, in short, you can say P is equals to D1 divided by RR minus G. So if we have an assumption to say we have our growth rate at 5%, so the growth rate will always be given. So if we have our growth rate at 5%, the behavior of the dividends is shown in the number line. So if the last dividend was 142, we know that in year 1, that growing by 5% it becomes 150. 150 growing by 5% becomes 1.575. 1.575 growing by 5% becomes 1.638. So it continues to grow by 5%. So to find the value of this share, we will then say D1, which is dividend in year 1, not a dividend in year 0, which is 1.43. No, it's actually dividend in year 1 divided by required return, which is 10% minus G. If you do that calculation, you'll get a nice answer. So now we are doing a slightly more complicated example. In this example, let's say a share's current dividend is 2 rand. The dividend are expected to grow at the rate of 20% for the first 3 years before reducing to a constant growth of 10% thereafter. The required return is 15%. Find the value of that share. So now you can see that we have two growth rates. A high growth rate, which is 20% for the first 3 years before, and then a constant growth rate of 10%. In this case, the dividend behavior is shown in our step 1. So we are told that the last dividend was 2 rand, so it's grown by 20% in year 1, which gives you 240. 240 is grown by 20% in year 2, gives you 288, which is grown by 20% in year 3, gives you 3456. So the high growth period ends at year 3. From year 3 going forward, we know that it's going to grow by 10%, which is 3456 grown by 10% gives you 38016. This is illustrated in this number line, which says 2 rand grown by 20%, 240 grown by 20%, 288 grown by 20%, 3456. Then from year 4 onwards, it's growing by 10%, which is 3806. So this 3802 is important because it is going to help us find the value of the shares in year 3, which is at the end of the high growth period. So we know that in year 3, the value of the share is equals to D1 divided by required return minus G. So our D1 in year 3 looks at year 4, because D1 in year 3 will be year 4. So we say 3802 divided by 0.15, which is the required return given here, minus G, which is 10 from the constant period. From year 4, remember the growth is 10%. That gives us 76.6 036. So now we have all the numbers we need, but now we need to find these values. What are these values today? So we are now left with the one small job of discounting, which is shown in step number 3. So we are saying the first dividend is 240, we discount by 1.15 to the power of 1, plus the second dividend 288 divided by 1.15 to the power of 2 because of year 2. Third dividend 3456 divided by 1.15 to the power of 3 because this is in year 3, plus 76036 divided by 1.15 to the power of 3. Some of you might be wondering, why to the power of 3? Because the value here, 76036, is in year 3. So we discount that value by 1.15 to the power of 3, which is equals to that plus that plus that plus that equals to 56.5319. If you go through this slide again, it will start to make a little bit more sense. This is your question, ladies and gentlemen, for your practice. So Velvet Corporation just paid a dividend of 2 Rand per share. Assume that the dividend will grow by 18% per year during the next 2 years. After that, growth is expected to level off to a constant rate of 6% per year. The required return is 8%. Calculate the share's intrinsic value using the 2-stage dividend growth model. So your steps, you find the value of the dividends first, then you find the price in year 2 using the constant growth, then the last step is you then find the present values. Pause and do your practice. Here is your answer. Did you get this 131.11? Thank you for listening to INV 2601 in 3 minutes or less. Bye.